Hello everybody, I'm Paul Higgins along with Coach Rich Fisher, and thanks for joining us on this edition of Eagle Insider. Week 2 of the high school football season is in the books. Of course, Mission Viejo was the opponent with the Eagles. And Coach, you lose by 10, but you have 5 turnovers, and I know that's smarting a little bit right now. What gains did you take away from this game as opposed to the negatives?
Don't turn the ball over.
Don't turn the ball over.
Turnovers will kill you. And, it was obviously a good opponent, highly ranked team. And, had we protected the ball just a little bit better, made better decisions. Comes down to execution. I mean, they executed a little bit better than we did. Still giving ourselves an opportunity there. I think we were down by 7 and they had to kick a field goal to make it 10. If they miss that, we get the ball as bad as we played. So you can look at it from that point of view and say, look, we play a lot cleaner, execute better. There's good things in store.
You and I were just talking before this edition of Eagle Insider, and you said, if we play that first half the same way we do the second half, we win that game.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's a product of a lot of young kids getting an opportunity to be on a big stage, and there's a lot going on, a lot expected. Decisions have to be made quick. And we didn't make a bunch of good decisions, and it cost us in the end.
Once again, during the game, we had you wired for sound, and what I noticed, especially in the second half, you kept saying, "This is fun. This is fun," and you weren't on the big part of the score. Then you were down by 10, and you were saying, "This is fun. This is why we play the game." Tell me about that philosophy, because the kids were down a little bit because they thought they were in trouble. But if there's a second on the clock, you're still fighting.
Well, at the end of the day, it is a football game. It's not life and death, and it's what you practice for, it's what you prepare for, and it's not supposed to be easy. And so a lot of that is just to project confidence to the kids that it doesn't matter if you're down, you still keep executing, you still have fun, enjoy the moment, and I thought they responded. We ended up scoring a couple touchdowns. And I think a part of that whole approach, from my point of view, at least, is to keep those kids relaxed and confident in their abilities and confident in the plan. And like I said, had we just executed a little bit better, I think, obviously the outcome would have been different.
One of my sports broadcasting students is a senior. Her name is Cassidy Doyle, and she had an opportunity to go down on the field to kind of train on what's going on down there. And she just told you that it's a lot different down there on the field than it is in the stands. You've been on the sidelines for so long, you probably don't even know what it's like to be in the stands anymore. But what can you say to the people that are watching the game that really don't know what goes into what you guys do on the sidelines?
Well, it's kind of a game within the game. There's a lot of strategic planning. You base everything off of film study and opponent study, and then you get in the course of the game and things change, and you got to be able to react. You got to be resilient. If things aren't working, I know we had a lot of things planned to do a little bit differently based on what they were doing, and so there's a lot of communication that's going on, a lot of stuff in between series, talking to the players, coming up with plays or formations that you like better to get different looks. And so, I've always felt like if you could bottle up the headset and the talking, you'd make a lot of money because, like you said, just standing in the stands and watching the ball and watching guys run on it and make plays is kind of the byproduct of what's going on in between.
A couple questions for you. I know that your quarterback had a little rough second game, but every time that he came over on a turnover, you would let him kind of cool down for a second. Was that also you kind of stepping back and saying, this kid's a sophomore, he's going to be great, he's already good, and just wanted to take a moment to pause before you went into what was right or what was wrong?
Well, it's kind of master the obvious in that he knows he messed up,
yeah,
or he made a bad decision. So let's not beat a dead horse.
Yeah.
Let's let him settle down, and then let's talk about how we get it fixed or why it happened. That's the most important thing. It's if you do make a mistake, why did it happen? What can we do better? What is it? The play? Is it the read? Is it the decision making? And then try to get it fixed. But ultimately, you got to keep him confident. It's a big stage, like I said. He's a sophomore in high school, and you're trying to go out and knock off a crosstown rival. So obviously being calm and collective and even keel is, I think, really important.
At one point in the second half, you said, heck with it, I'm just going to call plays as I see them. I'm tired of looking down. Looking down as you're looking at your play chart. Yeah. Can you tell me about that decision? Because it seemed like when you did that, you got it in the rhythm and the flow of the game, and you enjoyed that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's just a feel. You know, I felt like we talked about last week, you know, I pretty much keep my head down. I listen to down and distance and ball position, and then based off of percentages or film study, we're calling plays. And as the game changes, I just felt like I needed to look up and see and understand and get a feel for what they were doing and just call stuff off the top of my head. And we got on a little bit of a roll, and so maybe I taught myself a little bit of a lesson too. And a lot of times it's not about what's on that piece of paper as much as what you're feeling as the game goes on and what you like based on what you see.
Mission Viejo was a great opponent for the second game in. I as an outsider looking into this and part of the program in various ways, I looked at the scoreboard, as I mentioned, I said 30-20, you know, a bunch of turnovers. I know you didn't play the way you wanted to play, but still, it's got to leave a lot of optimism to move on from here, knowing that you guys made mistakes and you only lost by 10, as we talked about. But what other positives did you take out of this?
Well, it's a long season ahead. There's going to be like opponents that we face. I also think that when you play a quality opponent that early on for us, it's going to benefit us. Hopefully it benefits us this week. We're going to play another good opponent, but we have already been in that environment. Right. So maybe the kids are a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more confident, understand exactly what happened in this game to get fixed moving forward. So hopefully that's the take. Experience, you can't put a price on it, you know, and to go through a game and experiences those ups and downs, experience you know, what they did in this past game, hopefully it will help us, like I said, moving forward.
I know you're calling plays, but there certainly was some great defensive plays in this game.
Oh, there's no doubt. We put the defense in a bind pretty much all night with turnovers, changing field position. I thought that the defensive staff, Max Onyebule, our D coordinator, and those guys, you know, they didn't blink. We talk a lot about don't blink. If something happens, you just do your job. And we're not going to point the finger, and it takes 3 phases of a football team to win, and defense definitely did their part to give us an opportunity, and hopefully we can be better on offense and special teams.
So Mission Viejo was past you. In front of you is Cherry Creek. Tell me about that team.
Number 1 ranked team in the state. You know, they had a game last week, which they pretty much dominated against Doherty from Colorado Springs. So another quality opponent. Doesn't get any easier, but they got to get on a plane and come out here and see us and play us at home. And it'll be very much like last week. Hopefully the result's different.
Your thoughts about them? What do they do that's sticking out? Are they a pass team, run team, a little bit of mix?
Well, Dave Logan, who's the head coach, a former NFL player. When you watch them, they're a little bit more of a throwback in that they line up in 2 backs and a tight end, play power football, try to play action you off of that. Defensively, it's very much what we've seen here in the first 2 weeks, but the caliber of player is pretty good. I think they might have 6 or 7 Division I athletes that are on their football team, and I'm sure there's I know just by watching the film, there's some young guys running around on there that are going to have that opportunity as well.
Lastly, Coach, you've had a couple practices, or you've seen your team a couple times since Friday night. You'll see them today. We shoot this segment on Mondays before practice. What do you say to them? Do you say anything about that Mission Viejo game, or you just turn the page?
Well, we always watch the film on Saturdays, so we've watched the film. We've identified our mistakes, why we made those mistakes, and then just like we did last week with the penalties, which I thought for the most part was pretty good this past week, we'll get those things fixed. But I think the most important thing is be fair, but be firm. You know, make sure you identify exactly what they did wrong, understand why they did it wrong, and then we as coaches got to maybe scale back a little bit, maybe not do as much, and know that this is a young team with young players, and we want to do things that they're confident in. And I'm speaking from the quarterback position specifically, but You know, I think it's a new day. We move on. We flushed it. We call it flush and film for a reason, so let's flush it away and look forward to Friday night.
You know, a true class act is when a coach loses a big game and still decides to come in and do a sit-down interview like this. So that is very cool, Coach, and I really appreciate you doing this, and we're going to continue this throughout the season so you can kind of get an inside look on what he does and his coaching staff, which is phenomenal. Win or lose, the Eagles are very lucky to have Coach Rich Fisher, and we are pleased to have him here on Eagle Insider. Coach, good luck. We'll see you Friday night.
Thank you.
Wire you for sound again, maybe, and keep that thing rolling because he's saying some good stuff. Wait till the book comes out. We can write about everything that he says. That's for another day.
I want royalties.
Okay. All right, for Coach Fisher, I'm Paul Higgins. Thanks so much for watching this edition of Eagle Insider. See you next week.